Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and we have a very special guest on the show today. I have David Treece of Treece.com. David, it's awesome to have you on the show.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Super excited to have you on. And before we jumped in, I wanted to read a little bit more about David so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's doing. And David has nearly 30 years of experience as a fee-based investment advisor and is an accredited investment fiduciary. He understands financial markets and is an expert in financial planning. He's been recognized for his financial acumen and client advocacy work. David has been featured on PBS's Nightly Business Report, The Washington Post, the Miami Herald, and NBC6 in Miami, and an Emmy-award winning series about his work. He has testified before the U.S. Senate Select Committee on Aging regarding senior citizens and financial planning. And David has an MBA from the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and lives in Miami, Florida. David, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I sure am.
Awesome. Let's do it. So I know I touched on some of the awesome things that you're doing, so I wanted to kind of rewind the clock a little bit here, how you got started. Could you take us through what I call your CEO story, and we'll let you get started with your business?
Yes, the financial services industry it lives up to its stereotype of really being transactional, sales oriented, and even some groupthink. And I did not like this. I was with a firm and I decided to open my own office and do this my way. And it's been a great success story. I've been doing this nearly 30 years, and I can say nobody does it like we do. And I think the industry is finally heading in our direction, but we got here first, I can say, and I'm glad we did.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure your clients are definitely happy as well too. And 30 years going, you sounds like you're just getting started. So I wanted to hear about all the awesome things you're doing, because I know when we first connected, you had so many kind of phenomenal stories of how you were able to help people. So could you take us through some of those stories and how exactly you serve the clients you work with?
There are a lot of things that are different from how we do things. One is certainly the investment management. The stereotypical answer from financial advisors is ride it out, ride it to the bottom, the market will come back, don't worry about it. There's like this hand-holding advice, which gets to be a little condescending. And there have been so many crises over the years, from the tech bubble to the Great Recession to what we're going through now. And we do not do that. We will try to avoid these huge drawdowns. I work with money managers who will go to cash or government bonds. And so we are great at preventing these losses, which for people who are close to retirement or already in retirement, it makes all the difference. Another thing we do really well is, of course, we're fiduciaries. And what that means is we have a duty of loyalty, of utmost care, no conflicts of interest. And we take that to the nth degree, including advocacy. We do what things nobody else does. I can easily say that because a lot of advisors would never want to do the things that we do. We fight for clients. I've fought banks, insurance companies, of course, individual bad guys, difficult family members. So we really are advocates. And I've learned this. I worked for a billionaire before. It doesn't matter who you are or how much money you have. Everybody needs an advocate, somebody who's going to have their back and see what's going on, a second set of eyes, ask other questions, and we are the best for that. I will pick up the phone and call anybody and ask questions and get to the bottom of something.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that. And, as I said before, I'm sure clients do as well, because what was coming to me when you were saying that is this quote where people say people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. And I think that caring aspect, that advocacy that you spoke to so many times, when you're taking what can sometimes be your life savings and putting it and investing in and putting it in trusting hands, you want to know somebody will go to bat for you and really, care, that you're in your best interest.
That is our secret sauce. You figured that out. And I have clients come back and say that to us, and they're not expecting it. And it shouldn't be such a competitive advantage in this industry, but it really is. That I enter every relationship wanting this to be a lifelong relationship. And I think our clients can see that, and they want that, particularly older clients. And we have a lot of older clients who, for example, may be alone or at risk of aging alone if a spouse passes away, where they've got no kids, no other close family, or the kids are far away. So we have a whole solo ager program. I've got one employee, this is all she does. It's to help those people with all the services that they need: concierge services, aging in place, retrofitting a house. We've put together probably a couple hundred service providers, and this has nothing to do with our investment management. It's just when somebody comes to us, they know that they can count on getting all the help that they need. And, you know, and again, it may be just these great referrals, but these are people we've worked with for years and built up a lot of trust.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful, and I love that that is your secret sauce, the thing that kind of sets you all apart. Because I think when you kind of talked in the beginning, you talked about that transactional approach that so many people have, and kind of being able to I guess compare that with the relationship oriented environment that you all have is so huge. Because I think obviously you see it in the investments, I imagine, but as you talked about, you see it in all the other additional things of being able to have these partnerships and relationships and connect people with the people they need to be able to be and live their successful lives.
We ask about things that don't have anything directly to do with us, and we plan for that, whether it's Social Security or Medicare or family relationships, making sure legal documents are done. We like to get those. We will file them electronically so that they're available. We want to make sure that they've done all of that planning. We will get after them if they haven't, and we do these reviews and we remind them what needs to be done. I tell them my story so that they learn and they're prepared, they're motivated. We deal with the emotional issues, and I name them. There's money silence, money shame, there's greed, there's fear, there's all of those things. And we recognize it, and we talk about it. We want everybody to feel good about. The biggest compliment I get is when somebody leaves our office and they say, I feel so much better. And that happens a lot. People are working with us because of that. They know that they can count on us. And my older clients, I say, we will be here to the end. And I can prove it. I have received the call from caregivers. Somebody's passed away. I've been in the hospital. I've called the funeral home. I've called the Neptune Society to come to, claim somebody who's passed away. We work with the client's families. We transfer the accounts. We've done all of this. I've gone to court for a client. We've fought fraud. We've got money recovered from some of the bad guys. But it's not always just like individual, fraudsters. We've gotten money back from banks and insurance companies. So we really are very good at what we do, and that makes a difference. The clients see that.
Yeah, absolutely. You really get to make that impact. And I love that you kind of touch base on that kind of I guess, the emotional aspect of money, because I think so many times we don't realize, all those different kind of nuances you just discussed. And we just look at, money as obviously it's, a tangible thing, a noun, I guess you can say, but there's so much more kind of related to that if you don't treat or you don't pay attention to, sometimes you're not equipping your clients with the things they need to be successful.
Yeah, it's interesting. We even have a program where it can read somebody's expression and the relationships. I deal with this with a lot of couples where one may be very aggressive in their investments, and the other not so much, and very conservative. I've had couples where they've kept secrets from each other, like debt. And so we deal with all of these things. Our attitude is, whatever's happened in the past, we go forward and we get it right, because we say, don't trip over something behind you. And that in a crisis, often there are problems, and we have to try to solve those problems. And we've done it over and over and over again. And we will give difficult advice at times. So, but that's our job. We have to tell somebody what's in their best interest, even if it's something that they don't necessarily want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, kind of having their best interests at heart. And I love that always being solution oriented and not tripping over anything that's behind you. So, because we're always moving forward. So I love that perspective and that mentality as well. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
You know, the technology, our industry is getting, especially now with the coronavirus, we rely on technology. And so, of course, these kinds of podcasts and Zoom meetings. I actually have a second home. My spouse, my husband, is from Argentina, and we have a second home there. And I have an internet phone, and so all of these, like the technology, and it may vary from industry to industry, but we have just phenomenal technology now to communicate with clients. So I can be traveling and using WhatsApp or Telegram, some of these apps. So the technology is the biggest thing, and we're even creating new technology right now. Our firm is creating online communities, and it is the most awesome thing. It's almost hard to describe, but the idea is businesses and individuals can log on, and there's it's like Facebook on steroids with built-in Zoom, with Angie's List and Better Business Bureau, and it's all there in one community, and it is a community. So the technology is changing everything, and probably faster. So we've got a lot of technology that we use and recommend, and new things are coming.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And it's so, I always think some of the most forward-thinking companies, regardless of industry, sometimes say we're a technology company that does X, Y, and Z, because technology is such a transformational kind of thing that's impacting literally every single industry. So I love to hear, obviously how you leverage it, but also the community that you're building based off that technology as well.
Yeah, we don't want people to be isolated at a time of COVID-19. So that has been, part of the motivation here is to put this technology together that where it's never been done before, where it's all combined, where you can go one place and get everything that you need. This is particularly important for a lot of older adults. And so we've got, a community for that. And being an LGBT person, we have a separate subgroup for the LGBT community. And that's another interesting thing about the financial services industry I didn't touch on, but where we're so different is this industry is old, white, male, conservative, groupthink, and people today don't want that. And that's why there's a lack of trust, and people are more diverse, and that's who we are. Our staff is that way, our clients are that way. We have probably clients from 30 different countries. Even our staff is very international, and Muslim, Christian, Jewish, male, female, all different backgrounds. And we do, again, break those stereotypes. I think people want to know that they are going to be welcomed, accepted, no matter who they are, and see themselves even in the office. And we definitely have that as well. And that's a bit different from a lot of financial service offices.
Yeah, and I think that definitely is. I'm glad you added that in as another layer of that secret sauce, because I think so many times we forget, like, having those varied experiences and backgrounds not only allows you to kind of think differently, it helps you to come up, in my opinion, with better solutions as well too. Because I think so many times, as you talked about that group think, and you talked about being able to kind of figure out what the solution to a problem will be. Sometimes when you're doing groupthink, you're always going to try to solve it in a new way, but being and having that diverse background related to different communities, different subgroups that you kind of talk to, I think it speaks to the human aspect, but also to the solution oriented aspect and being able to kind of tackle it in different ways.
Well, amen to that. And I've actually been involved in some diversity training in our industry. And this is one of the key things, is that it is a huge benefit. And I think about my background, my experience and being in college. I had my first roommates were from in the engineering school from Taiwan. I had people from all these different backgrounds. And the idea is you learn from that. And that's also just how the real world is. But you avoid some of the mistakes and the groupthink. I see that. I go to like our industry conferences, and it's not what America looks like. And also I see this in the advice, and I hear it from representatives who come into our office from mutual fund companies, insurance companies, other money managers, and I can see that we're different. The market is tanking and they're getting calls like crazy. The market goes down and I've commented to our staff, nobody's calling us. And it's because, again, we're doing it differently. We've planned for these market downturns. And it used to be, this might be like, once every 20 or 30 years or once in a lifetime. And now it's like every 10, 20 years, something major is happening. So the old advice just doesn't work. I go to, again, these conferences and everybody is saying, we got to tell our clients not to sell, to ride it out. It's going to come back. This is how the small investor always loses. They sell when it's down. They're not in when it comes back. There's a grain of truth to that, but that's still not the right answer. And there are better answers, and that's what we do. So, and I think about the clients. It's like, if you're going to tell your clients that, just ride it out, don't do anything. It's like, well, why are they paying you? Where's the value in that? And that's where I say we're so different. We're not going to tell you that. Every time there is a market collapse, we do incredibly well. We get new clients. We look at what they've done. We look at where they are and we say, we can do better. And we typically do. We get a lot of new business when we have these market downturns. Our records are pretty good at handling this. So, but that's why we're different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how those, aspects of how you built the company have manifested itself, obviously, during times like we're even in now. So I wanted to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. And that could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. And if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
One of the things that you probably picked up on this, I joke, we have the shortest business plan in the world, probably 2 words, good karma. And when we're little, we're taught the golden rule, treat others as you want to be treated. And you don't associate that with the financial services industry. And it shouldn't be a competitive advantage, but it is. And I put myself in somebody else's shoes and I ask myself, is this how I would do it if I were them? Would I make this decision? And the biggest decisions for the financial planning aspect of what we do, not the investment management, are those big decisions about, am I retiring too early? Have I saved enough? Have I taken on too much debt? Do I have the right insurance in place if something goes wrong? Have I put my eggs in one basket? Am I protected? And we have so many stories along these lines where we've helped people and made sure that if something does go wrong, that they are protected, that we've got a plan B. So to answer the question about that nugget is, you have to be true to yourself and your values and decency. And gosh, these days, if I can say lying is wrong, it seems to be like, well, everybody does it. No, it is wrong. You treat everybody the way you want to be treated. And, in our industry, and you're dealing with people's money, you don't mess with people's money.
Yeah.
That's a golden rule.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that kind of business plan, the good karma, because I think it could, be said in so many different industries of how important it is. But, putting yourself in somebody else's shoes and putting their interests at the forefront is how I think you really develop and have that good karma, and it starts to manifest itself in so many different ways. But like you said, sometimes, and it's sad that, we're in a time and age where being and practicing good karma is actually something that is of the less than normal than of the majority, and really hate to kind of see that. But I'm glad that you're kind of leading that charge and you're doing that for your clients and all the people that you work with. So now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So David, what does being a CEO mean to you?
I've had almost religious moments about this, and I can tell you that to be able to have my own business, but doing what I love, it is a blessing to be in your right livelihood. And I know that this is like what I was born to do. I didn't start out this way. It's like most of us, we've had different careers, and I've been in corporate America after my business education. but I have definitely done what I feel I do the best. And I have seen so many other people in this industry, and I've thought, you're not there yet. This isn't really what you should be doing. And I've spoken to other advisors and people who've got these different backgrounds, and they're still trying to figure it out. And we are like I'm blessed in this regard, that being my own CEO means I get to do this my way, which is the right way, which is helping people. And often you think, well, I've got freedom. I can come into the office. I could work less. And, I don't feel that way. It's like this, and I have clients who are like this. I have people who love what they do, and I'm in the same way. And they're not necessarily entrepreneurs, but I've got people who are still working well into their 70s, and they could retire. And you think about people like Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. I mean, they're not working for money. This is their life, who they are, their identity, what they want to do. And I'm in the exact same position. And I see that in a few of my clients. I've got a professor. She loves the students. She's, PhD level. She loves the research. So I can relate to that. And that's me. I'm able to do what I love to do. And that makes all the difference in this industry in particular, because the way people get started in this industry is a nightmare. You may be recruited by a major wirehouse company, we call them, or an insurance company, and it's still, here's the phone book, call people, or who do you know, a list of close family and friends, and basically, foisting yourself on them. And there is no way we do any of that, or would I want any of our employees to do that. So there's a right way to do things, and being your own CEO means you don't have to do the wrong thing in sales quotas and pressure, and possibly doing the wrong thing because of somebody, a boss putting pressure on you. So that's a blessing. I get a clean conscience. I always say I want to go to my grave with a clean conscience. And up to this point, I can say, yes, I've done everything I've been wanting to do the right way.
Yeah, that's extremely powerful. And I love how you said, the word identity and being able to kind of do your life's work. Because I think when you truly, love what you do, and like you said, really are in good karma and able to look at yourself in the mirror at the grave, and be okay with the decisions that you make and the things that you've done, then I really believe that you really want to pour yourself even more into what it is that you do. And I think that's an incredible place to be. So truly appreciate that definition, and I appreciate your time even more. And what I wanted to do is pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you and your team are working on.
Well, if I can help somebody else, I would love to do that. It's like mentoring. I joke that a lot of what we do is like social work, financial social work. Mm-hmm. And I'm in a very collaborative office, and I definitely want to help people. That's part of our DNA, and that's true of everybody who works here. So if we can help somebody else answer questions or provide resources, my website is just treecefinancial.com. It's T as in Tom, REECE. And I'll send people there because we have a ton of free resources. You can download all sorts of guides. We've got little educational videos. There's probably 60 of them there. We have, there's calculators, newsletter articles, anything that we can put there that we think is going to help people, we just add it. And that's the way the market is going, and that's a good thing. So information's free, and we have a lot of information there. So if we can help people, they can reach us through the website, and we definitely want to help.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that, David. And we will have the links and information in the show notes as well, too. But definitely, without a doubt, knowledge is power. And I appreciate you for providing those ways for us to, be more informed and more aware of what's happening and what's going on financially. But I appreciate you, too, for, reminding us of how important it is that we all should have, at the very least, the front page of our business plan of understanding good karma, because I think that's something that's needed a lot more in the world, in every industry. So I appreciate you for not just reminding us, but kind of leading the charge for that as well, too. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Okay, thank you, Gresham.
All right, and I'll cut it off here. Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh again from the I Am CEO podcast. And we had a phenomenal interview with David Treece of client-advocacy.com. And he's doing so many phenomenal things. And I think the podcast was packed full of value just because of all the things that David does. But even on a deeper level, it just reminds us as entrepreneurs and business owners how important it is to put your clients and the people that you want to work with at the forefront. And David, for people that might just be listening to this aspect, could you introduce yourself to us again and let us know a little bit more about what it is that you do?
Yes, I'm David Treece. I'm an accredited investment fiduciary. So I'm a financial advisor, but we have the highest level of regulation as a fiduciary, which means we have a duty of loyalty, a duty of utmost care, a duty of no conflicts of interest, to always put a client's interest first. And we take that to the highest degree. So we handle everything from their investment management, all the financial planning, and we look at basically anything that can affect somebody's overall financial well-being. And at times, because we look for lifelong relationships, we deal with even larger life issues and not just the financial aspect of it.
Yeah, and I think that came out, really strongly, during the interview. And when you talked about, the clients that you work with, and sometimes it's obviously they're coming potentially, just for that financial piece, but there's so many other aspects, human aspects, that a lot of times, other, companies or organizations might kind of gloss over. But I love kind of you in the business and how you kind of look at things in a different way. And I think one of the foundational kind of principles we kind of spoke to during the interview was that diversity piece, and how sometimes being able to kind of have that strong foundational principle or seed, it manifests itself in the way that you do business and the way that you support the clients that you serve. Could you talk a little bit more about that and the benefits of that diversity piece?
There are two areas I see of the diversity. It means a lot to me. I'm a gay man, and one of the issues with the financial services industry is it tends to be older, white, male, straight, conservative, and these days that is not very welcoming to a lot of people. And so you want to kind of like the person that you're working with who's managing your money and giving you advice, and not feel that you're maybe on the opposite sides of the table or at cross purposes. And I've felt that a lot in recent years now, that people want to know that they're going to be respected. I see that with minority people, with women, and this industry has got a long way to go. And I think the leadership in the financial services industry knows that we have tremendous underrepresentation of racial minorities, of women, and that has got to change. And that's a big issue. So I'm very proud of ourselves that we have a very diverse clientele and diverse staff, and people should be made to feel welcomed, appreciated, not that they're going to be looked down upon or stereotyped in any way. And that's super important. Again, I'll speak as a gay man, that there's discrimination. It's happened to me and my husband. We were with one of our financial service companies that said no same-sex couples at company events. And so it was you and a family member are invited to a conference, and not you and a guest, you and a family member. And they refused to have my now husband. We've been together 35 years, but now that's changed. But if you haven't lived through that kind of experience, it hurts, and it matters that you're not going to be mistreated. You want to make sure somebody is on your side and understands where you're coming from. So that's really important. We have people from different backgrounds and different religious holidays. They say you take those holidays off. And we want to make sure everybody, including the staff, feels completely welcomed and respected. So it shouldn't be an advantage, but I think it is. The other thing is, of course, as you mentioned, the groupthink, that we like different opinions on things. And I've been at so many conferences sitting at a table, and I hear the same thing over and over again. And we often don't think that way. That is our take on the markets, on why things are happening, on the best way to respond to things. So we get that extra, I think, diversity of opinion too. And that helps us, I think, see things more clearly and respond better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm definitely obviously sorry, that happened to you and your husband or your now husband. And I think that is despicable to say the very least. And it's a shame that, especially in this time and age that we're living through, lots of experiences like that. And I think it's, it speaks to, as you said, just first of all, it's just a human thing to be able to be open to other people, other experiences, other religions and creeds. I think we even talked about during the interview, but I think that also, as you touched on, not only does it allow you to be human and see others as human and put yourself in other people's shoes, but I think that there's such a strong diversity in opinion based off those experiences and ways to look at things. And I think when we're dealing with certain problems and things that we're trying to fix, whether it be a global pandemic or a financial crisis, there's so many of these things that come up. A lot of times that groupthink is what can kind of be an impediment to businesses and organizations and the people within them, and being able to kind of look at things in a unique way from a different perspective and a unique light allows more creative and really solution oriented things to come about.
I have been, again, at conferences where somebody says something just assuming everybody else is going to agree with them, and just blurt out something, and I'm thinking, where did that come from, that remark? And people will say that because they just assume everybody thinks like they do.
Right.
And I'm thinking, this isn't entirely appropriate. If you had a more diverse group, that person wouldn't have said that. And so I see things like that. So it's very important to not get caught up in that, and to try to learn from other people and their experiences. So that diversity really matters. It should never be a burden, like, oh, we've got to think this way and it's going to cause us trouble, and like I'm walking on eggshells. And it should be something that's really positive and helpful, to be inclusive. It's like, why wouldn't you want that? And again, it just should also be reflecting in the real world.
Yeah, I'm glad you definitely said that, definitely looking at it as an opportunity to really get that opportunity to learn, to sharpen ourselves. Because I think especially as business professionals that are listening to this, you always want to be able to kind of sharpen your saw to get better at whatever it is that you do, and understanding and getting that opportunity to do that on a regular basis kind of helps out as far as being able to do that. So definitely, appreciate you for obviously, leading the charge with that and reminding us of how, important it is. I wanted to just pass you the mic again, just to see if there's anything additional you want to let our readers and listeners know. And then, of course, again, how best people can get a hold of you and find out about all those things you're working on.
They can reach us through our website, TreeceFinancial.com. It's TREECE, TreeceFinancial.com, or just DavidTreece.com. It'll take you to the same place. And we, again, as I said, we want to help. I hope people can sense our advocacy. And so we've got a lot of materials there. And if anybody needs help on something, questions, if we can help, to reach out to us, we'd be happy to try to connect them with resources, answer questions, provide guides, any ideas, any ways we can help. But advocacy, that's us. And I hope that we can continue to grow and do it on an even larger level. That's our goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will have the links and information again in the show notes so that everybody can follow up with you, David, and your team. And again, I think it's just so important to have somebody at your corner, especially for something as, I guess, important as financials. And really, you touched on in the interview, like potentially, might be getting ready to retire at some point, looking to retire, knowing that you have somebody at your back and they're willing to advocate and go to bat for you is just so important. So I appreciate you again for doing that and reminding us of that. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.